Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The White House is releasing a new set of guidelines to address the epidemic of sexual assault on college campuses. A new task force report urges colleges to conduct anonymous surveys and adopt proven strategies for combating assault. The announcement follows a rash of high-profile cases where schools across the country, from Brown to Florida State, have been accused of mishandling sexual assault. 1 in 5 college women will be sexually assaulted during her college career. The U.S. Senate has stripped a provision from a key intelligence bill that would have required President Obama to publicly disclose the number of people killed by drone strikes. The move reportedly came at the behest of Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, who suggested it could undermine operations. The provision would have required Obama to report the number of civilians and combatants killed or injured in drone strikes, but panel chair Senator Dianne Feinstein agreed to drop it. Clapper says the Obama administration is exploring its own ways to disclose data on the strikes. Attacks in Iraq killed 57 people Monday as soldiers and police went to the polls 2 days before nationwide elections. This week's parliamentary poll is Iraq's first since the withdrawal of U.S. troops. In the deadliest attack, a suicide bomber killed 30 people and injured scores of others at a political gathering in a mostly Kurdish town northeast of Baghdad. In Central African Republic, the group Doctors Without Borders has suspended activities in the northern town of Bogila following an attack on its compound by Muslim Seleka rebels. Sylvain Rules, head of the MSF's mission in the country, described the casualties.
These non-civilians were heads of villages, heads of areas within Bogila town, and they have been invited by MSF for what we have are these periodical meetings with these village heads. And unfortunately, at the end, tragically, 16 of those people lost their lives, of which 3 of our national staff colleagues from Médecins Sans Frontières were also unfortunately killed.
In the capital Bangui, international peacekeepers have evacuated 1,300 Muslims who'd been surrounded by Christian vigilantes known as anti-Balaka. Fighting between the two sides has killed thousands since a coup last year. The death toll from a series of tornadoes in the Midwest and South has risen to at least 28. The storms killed at least 11 people in Mississippi, Tennessee, and Alabama, a day after at least 17 were killed, almost all of them in Arkansas. Arkansas Governor Mike Beebe described the wreckage.
Devastation in terms of the power of it may be as big as I've ever seen. We've seen steel girders, huge steel I-beam type girders, twisted, torn completely out of cement footing, lifted completely out of the ground. You can look at the trees and see how they've been stripped of leaves to see force and power of this one. And then there are houses and businesses that are just destroyed, lots of them.
The entire state of California is in drought for the first time in 15 years. More than 3/4 of the state is in extreme drought. California Governor Jerry Brown's urged residents to curb their usage by, for example, refusing glasses of water in restaurants. Governor Brown suspended some environmental protections to reduce the impact of the drought, which he also tied to long-term climate change, saying, quote, "We're playing Russian roulette with our environment." In Syria, a mortar attack in central Damascus killed at least 14 people today. The attack comes a day after Syrian President Bashar al-Assad formally submitted his nomination to run for re-election despite a raging conflict that's killed more than 150,000 people and displaced millions. Assad is expected to secure another 7-year term in the June poll, which the opposition and its allies have denounced as a farce. An Egyptian court has banned the April 6 movement, a pro-democracy group that played a key role in the popular uprising that ousted Hosni Mubarak in 2011. Speaking on Monday, April 6 member Mohammed Youssef said the group would defy the ban on its activities.
This is a decision only on paper that will not stop the activities of the 6th of April. To the contrary, tomorrow we will be in the streets to tell them that this banned group is only banned in your imagination and in your dreams. This ruling will not stop the members of the movement demonstrating, will not stop them from saying what they believe, will not stop us standing up to any despot, however powerful he may be, and however many institutions he can control to push his ideas through.
The The ban came the same day an Egyptian judge sentenced 683 people to death, including the spiritual leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, Mohammed Badi. President Obama's wrapped up his tour of Asia with a stop in the Philippines. Speaking in Manila, Obama issued a defense of his overall foreign policy, saying his critics had failed to learn from what he called the disastrous decision to invade Iraq.
Typically, criticism of our foreign policy has been directed at the failure to use military force. And the question I think I would have is, why is it that everybody's so eager to use military force? After we've just gone through a decade of war at enormous costs to our troops and to our budget.
In the Philippines, Obama was met hundreds of protesters angered by a 10-year pact to revive the U.S. military presence in the Philippines. The deal arrives more than 20 years after popular protests forced the U.S. to leave its bases. On Monday, protesters destroyed the barrier outside the presidential palace and burned effigies of Obama and Philippine President Benigno Aquino. The Obama administration's unveiled new sanctions on Russia over its response to the crisis in Ukraine. The measures target 17 banks and other firms controlled by 4 billionaires with close ties to President Vladimir Putin, as well as 7 prominent figures, 2 of whom are Putin advisors. The European Union followed suit with sanctions on 15 new individuals. We'll have more on Ukraine after headlines. Secretary of State John Kerry's apologized for saying Israel could become an apartheid state if it does not reach a two-state solution with Palestinians. Kerry made the remarks Friday at a closed-door meeting, a recording of which was obtained by the Daily Beast. Kerry's remarks sparked condemnation from both supporters of Israel and from Palestinians who say Israel already is an apartheid state. Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas called for Kerry to resign over the comments.
Mr. President,
I'm not on the American side. I'm not on the American side.
It is my belief that
Russians have never
Secretary
done
Kerry has proven
slavery.
himself
Still asking for
unsuitable
reparations.
for the position he
For
holds.
justice for Kali.
And therefore,
Hillary still
before
thinks
any
she'd rather
further
the
harm
president
is
do
done
something.
to our national security interest and to our critical alliance with the nation of Israel,